the Palace of Speed. Early on in this race.
Jackie Stewart once described it as the green hell, but for some, it's heaven on earth. It's one of the most famous, most challenging, and most historic racetracks anywhere in the world, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and that's where, for at least the third season in a row, Spec-5 World Tour comes to play. 45 minutes ahead of us for the penultimate round of the championship. The weather is about what you would expect, but it's the stats underneath. A track length of 20 kilometers, almost 13 miles, 154 corners of racetrack officially, and that's what makes this place a challenge lap after lap. You have never done enough laps, never done enough learning to be completely confident and completely comfortable around this famous racetrack. We're going to bring you all of it here on HJBC. David Haynes with Devin Peters, Michael Derby in the production. Devin, they are qualifying right now. We're looking at Michael. It's very committed through the opening part of the lap.
Yeah, he's been putting in a quick one here, actually, as he's coming out through. Oh man, we're going to have a lot of corners to handle here today, Haynes. Up to the Hockenheim.
No, not the Hockenheim ring, the Hockeichen, which is subtly different. But then it's very, very quick through the rest of the lap.
He's going next. He's going to go down the slope and then up over Swedish Cruise. I got that one, right? Swedish Cruise.
Yes, but no.
Well, and anyway, this one's really committed, really sketchy. Yeah, it's a beautiful track out here. And even though I don't know the names of all the corners, I know my way around all of them. And these guys are making pretty quick work of them. We've just seen, I think that was Michael Chase, rather, hit the line, putting in an 8:01.9, which is quick enough for second on the grid. Only 1 second off Camden, which is pretty small on an 8-minute lap.
Yes, correct. Top of the leaderboard at the moment is 8 minutes, 0 seconds, 0.9 by Camden Hibbett, who's going to try to improve. Easier said than done, of course, and I think the track temperature has been climbing just slightly as we've gone along as well.
Yeah, it's a good thing they haven't got the rain yet for these cars, because it would be a busy day for the safety car, or the safety vehicles, I imagine, even if we got this skilled bunch of guys out on the track.
It's been through Vipperman towards Bruntian, right there, and then Ice Curve. A few places here where you can climb up all over the curbs if you're game, and he is game.
Yeah.
The question isn't just can Camden Hibbett improve, but can anyone else improve to dethrone Camden Hibbett from the top of qualifying at the moment. Your top 5 is Hibbett, and then Michael Chase, Lincoln Fox, Michael Coates, and Ronnie Coates. So, yeah, 2 Michaels, 2 Coates once again inside of the top 5. Not to be confused with 2 Chains.
Atypically, we're actually seeing a really clear divide between the pro and the open class. As we join Andrew Gilliland here, he's the lead in the open class. And all 4 of the open class drivers that are gridded up today are gridded up 14th through 17th. We'll see if Gilliland can do anything about that. He's green through, what is that, 5 of 7 sectors. But Alex Harrison, who's only a little bit behind him on his lap, is green through 6 of 7. So looks like our open class drivers are still finding a little bit of confidence, a little bit of time out there.
Helpfully, there's a couple signs beside the track that list not only how many kilometers you are around the 20 kilometers of the layout, but some of the corner names. That is Kleiner Carousel, the little carousel. And Andrew Gilliland has not been on any of the inside ponies there. He was a little bit wide, not getting that concrete banking exactly as you'd want. And it's very tight through Galgenkopf here, which is so critical for how much speed you carry onto this incredibly long straight, bringing you back towards the start-finish line. He's got no one to slipstream and no one to draft in this qualifying session, but during the race, you can come from a long way back, pick up an almighty tow and shoot past someone. You can also double up.
Well, and as you might recall, we had a pretty special finish. I think 3 wide, 3 deep, and good enough to end us up in the iRacing top 10, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I got to check if I ever got the iRacing credits for submitting that clip and that bit of replay. But it definitely was an amazing finish here, and it's that character to the end of the lap. You go through all these very twisty, mountainous sections around here, and then you have just one almighty long straight, just to give you a little bit of balance and reset the palette. The start-finish line is here, just where Andrew Gilliland is crossing right now, and it looks like he did find just a tiny bit of time, but not as much as he was hoping for. Alex Harrison then crosses the line, and he shoots up quite a few spots there.
Yeah, from 15th to 12th, and that puts a couple pro drivers between himself and Andrew Gilliland. So a solid lap there, and 8:10 gets him there.
And there should be quite a few drivers with one more lap time left in this qualifying session, one more flying lap to attempt to improve. Sean Hayes, as you can see, he's just been through the twisty S's of the opening part of the lap after Sabina Schmidt's curves. Comes the Hutzenbach, and then you're up to Flugplatz there, where the car is always so light over the crest, you can't see this double right-hander, and you want to throw as much speed as possible through there. Already 4 kilometers around the lap, because then it's flat out a long way down this next sweeping section towards Schwedenkreuz and Arenberg.
No matter how many times you say it, I won't learn.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And I know that, Devon. Don't worry. Yeah, the red and white on the Armco there should let you know that it is a very dangerous piece of the racetrack there. I think there's tyres now. There's only one or two little things that have been changed and reprofiled around the Nordschleife since the iRacing scans. One of them is just here at this left-hander at the top of the crest. Sean Hayes gets over the curb, but there's a taller curb now that you can't climb all over like the drivers want to do in this version. And of course there is a bit more Armco, a bit more tyres around some other places, and I think the profile of the crest at Flugplatz slightly less likely to send Nissan GTRs airborne.
An important characteristic that to consider in your race course. Sean Hayes coming out of Nahr Frost. Did I do it? And driving...
Forced.
How we got there. Driving into... is this Metzgefeld?
Yes.
Anyway, tricky part of the track here. I know this one. Miss, hit, miss. Let's see if he gets it right. It was hit, miss, miss. All the way into the outside wall.
And it ends in a hit, and that's qualifying done for Sean Hayes. 7th is the best that he might be able to do. Quite a lot of drivers behind him still on their run. It means he's not going to get ahead of Ronnie Coates, who we switched to right now, coming through the very similar part of the track, flat out using some of the banking there through that left and right, but then you need to be well positioned, and Ronnie Coates is a little tidier positioned. One of the slower corners on the racetrack right here, from the bottom of the hill, very tight, very slow, looking for a good exit there. Ronnie Coates maybe a little bit away from the apex that he would have wanted. He is the championship leader in Pro at the moment, and he has taken a handful of wins this season, and the races that he hasn't won, he's been so consistent.
Coates shows off the experience, you know. He's always there or thereabouts when he's out running. I think the only ones we've seen him have troubles with in Zandvoort and Road Atlanta were event incidents not all his own due, but with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins on the season. Oh no, that was his second place last week. He's doing pretty well for himself. Reviewing the points, looks like Ray Lombardi is currently sitting second overall, third currently in the qualifying. Michael Chase, third in the points, second in qualifying. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Unfortunately, with the horsepower of a Mazda MX-5, this left-hander up the top of the hill here is pretty easy flat. There are some other cars where it is way more challenging. Ray Lombardi negotiates it with a little bit of real estate to spare, soon approaching Klostertal, and one of the most famous picturesque corners around the layout at the carousel. Only other ones maybe that could hold a candle to it be Flugplatz.
Well, you know, and the carousel. It's pretty special.
Yeah, I think you're right. The carousel is almost as famous as the carousel.
No, sorry. I caught Flugplatz, not the carousel. Oh, man.
But there's some green sectors to this lap for Ray Lombardi, and while he's 1.07 seconds away from pole, he's only 700ths away from improving on Michael Chase. Eugenio Pollicci just completed a lap that sent him ahead of Sean Hayes. There was a purple sector in there for Eugenio Pollicci, but it was rather tentative in the opening part of the lap, so he moves up a couple of spots and his qualifying is done. The only drivers left on track are Camden Hibbett, Ray Lombardi, Ronnie Coates, Otis Adams, and Orlando Herrell. I think Alex Harrison was and now he's not. Or maybe he is again.
Yeah, he had that little incident, and it looks like he stopped on track again. So I think he might be done for the day. He's hiding behind the bushes from about every camera angle we can get right now. And he returns to the pit lane. One car that's putting in a couple quick sectors, though, Ronnie Coates has 2 purple sectors on the lap. He's doing some work out here. This is his final qualifying lap. We'll see if he's able to move a little further up. Currently sitting in 5th.
Have him losing almost a second to Camden Hibbett through the first 3 of 10 sectors, but then picking it up a little bit around the remaining part of the lap for Ronnie Coates. So where's he? Entering Schwalbenschwanz just before the little carousel. So he should not... Oh, it's touch and go if he gets to complete this lap in 2 minutes, given how long the Dotting Ahur is. But I suppose he'll probably have it with about 30 seconds to go based on where he is around the lap.
Yeah, should do. Really interesting, just, sorting by the sector times on our timing screen. Of course, we've got timing over at hjbc.live. It's interesting to note just the amount of variance between some of the different sectors that guys are putting up, while still putting together really sort of similar laps and overall pace. In particular, I'm noticing Lincoln Fox, who's ahead of Ronnie on the grid, is nearly 2 seconds slower than Ronnie in what is that, sector 7? So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how things get closer and get further apart as we go on this winding road, this winding rally around the German countryside.
It's amazing. Oh, Ronnie Coates gets basically the final braking zone of the lap, a little sideways, and I think he might know he's not completely up at this point.
Woo! He almost got there.
He falls 4/10 short of an improvement. And I think that's why he went so gung-ho in the final sector and didn't find any improvement. Otis Adams, I'm pretty sure, is just taking in all of the practice and the free track time available.
He might get there. He's got 40 seconds.
I've got him as having already done 4 flying laps, though. It's despite the time, it's still just the 4 laps in the session as per normal for the Spec-5 World Tour.
We'll see. Yeah, it looks like that one didn't count. So he'll be stuck in 9th place with an 8:04.6. And I think that's it for drivers out on the track.
I think it would be, because a couple of seconds is going to bring qualifying to an end and get us ready for the 45-minute race of the Spec-5 World Tour, round 12 at the Nordschleife. 1 round after this, and it's at Le Mans. The front row is going to be Camden Hibbett and Ray Lombardi, Michael Chase and Lincoln Fox, row number 2. Run the stats while I'm doing this, Devon. Is this Lincoln's first race in Spec-5 World Tour? Well, Ronnie Coates, we know from stats, done very well for himself this season, and championship leader there in 5th. Got Michael Coates in 6th, then Eugenio Pollicci, the another European driver there in 7th from Sean Hayes, Otis Adams and Mitchell Peake 9th and 10th. Tom Athon is in 11th, and your best qualifying open class driver is Alex Harrison, and then Brian Jabalski and Geordie Fike, and you've got a couple of other open class drivers here, Orlando Harrell, Andrew Gilliland, who by most calculations is winning the open class championship at the moment, and then Zeus Dalston there in 17th with an 8:18. Everyone setting a qualifying time. That can be a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a flip back through the stats book, and this is actually the 5th time that Lincoln Fox has joined us, including a 4th place finish over at Road Atlanta. But he has had a few different a few sort of mid-pack finishes, I would say, not to the kind of speed that we're used to seeing from Lincoln. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
The attention to detail of iRacing scanning a wooden pallet that's being used there as a step into the motorhome at the Touristenfahrten pits, where the drivers are all lined up right now to get their truncated formation lap underway behind the Porsche safety car.
Seeing
and it is
thoughts,
just...
Seeing thoughts and prayers in the driver's chat.
Yes, indeed.
So the drivers all thinking of how safe they're going to be through the first few corners, I think. Knock on wood.
So it looks like 17 MX-5s for the Spec-5 World Tour at the Green Hell. Still a required pit stop somewhere in this, and the drivers got a little bit more fuel to open up the pit window, because you only come around past the pit lane once every 8 minutes. You need a little bit more strategy, so they're all starting with a little bit more fuel than normal. Once again, that front row, Camden Hibbett of the USA, Ray Lombardi of the Netherlands, our front row ready to get racing. Pace car is in. Camden Hibbett keeping them all slow till the final corner. They make the right turn to stay on the Nordschleife. The green flag waves, and two wide, side by side, they head down towards turn 1 on cold tyres. The recently named Sabina Schmitz curve after the Queen of the Ring. And Camden Hibbett will go round the outside there, keep the race lead from Ray Lombardi, from Michael Chase in third.
It's clean through the pack so far. A little bit of action deeper on, though. And they're filing all the way down to single file. Orlando Harrell's been overtaken at the very back. Zeus Dawson making an early move and looking racy.
So the moves early is Andrew Gilliland picking up 2, Orlando Harrell dropping 2. In the open class and through the mid and the tail of the field, a couple of positions changing hands, but in your top 7, no change whatsoever from the grid order. But once we get through the twisty Hudson-Buck section and out here towards the Floodplatz, the high-speed slipstreaming of these Mazda MX-5s comes into play, and you really can gain a lot of time from towing behind someone, especially uphill here towards the Floodplatz. Cold tyres still trying to make our way through, a little bit of side-by-side through the back of the field, has to sort itself out to single file once again, and then we're high speed towards Schwedenkreuz.
And a Swedish cruise is a nice time, but doing it too wide is a dangerous thing indeed, and we'll see if anyone opts to do it. Real close on the bumper there is Ray Lombardi, right up behind Camden Hibbett.
So off a good start, Camden Hibbett was almost 6 or 7 tenths clear, but then the slipstream did what it does in these cars, brought Ray Lombardi right back to his rear bumper, brought Michael Chase there as well. It's Lincoln Fox in 4th. Not off to quite the lightning start, but still within touching distance of the leaders, being monstered by Ronnie Coates, Michael Coates, and even Eugenio Pollicci there.
Alex Harrison and Tom Athon are going too wide through the dipper in the back. They're 2x2, in fact. It's a little sketchy doing it there, and Alex Harrison decides to let Tom Athon by. Got to survive this race, not just win it.
Harrison was almost to put the move there on Tom Athon. Tom Athon survives and he looks more confident through this part of the lap. What about Geordie Fike there? Andrew Gilliland making some spots early on in this race. And Fike needs to cover him off through the quick left-handers here that then lead you into a braking zone. So easy to run a little wide here, as Harrison is done, as Michael Coates did up the road there as well. All of them getting back onto the pavement before the braking zone, though. Sometimes that can lead to a disaster when you come in there with a little too much speed.
Oh, now the turns have tabled. It's Geordie Fike had, what was it? Oh no, it wasn't Geordie Fike. Never mind. My stats are all over whack.
Okay, Alex Harrison's under pressure from Geordie Fike, and they're side by side here. And I think Harrison might have to let him go. Such a slow and tight place to try to go side by side. And you can see the impatience of youth. Andrew Gilliland there deciding which way he's going to go. Tom Athon loves to see this. He's scampering away through this middle part of the opening lap. Fike looks to get down the inside, gets a bit of curb, and Alex Harrison gets back in, gets into his fender and sends him around.
Oh, and Harrison disappeared just for a second there while they were making contact, so I wonder if there was a little bit of a connection issue, but either way, with the run Alex had and the way you'll see it, the way Jordy comes across the nose, there wasn't much room, and sure enough, ends up with a bent car and a big loss of positions for the both of them.
We don't know what that looked like from Jordy Fike's perspective as well, which is very important, but it creates a little bit of a wedge between some of the groups, talking about how powerful the slipstream is. It's massively powerful in these cars in this uphill section out of the right-hander at Bergwerk and all the way up towards the Bravery corner here. It's not only flat out, it's narrow, it's got some kinks in it, and it is uphill, and the uphill effect in these low horsepower cars really exacerbates the power of the slipstream. It sees Ray Lombardi and Michael Chase climbing all over Camden Hibbett, and it sees Lincoln Fox, Ronnie Coates and Michael Coates able to close in as well. You're looking at your top 6 on the opening lap.
Michael Chase peeked his nose out as they were coming up the hill and ran into a wall of air that was strong enough to push him back 2 car lengths on the way up that hill. So just to illustrate how strong that slipstream really is in that section. All the cars diving down into the carousel for the first time, and we'll see it's always a little sketchy the first time. It looks like they all make it through clean. Oh,
Sean Hayes.
Too soon. Yeah, Sean Hayes gets it a little bit wrong, and he comes off the exit of the carousel and does a little damage to the bumper. We'll see it here. Pretty uneventful entrance, but as he's riding around behind our signboards there on the exit, he just gets a little slide on and boom, those guardrails are unforgiving.
Like an elephant or a unicycle, the toughest part is the dismount.
Well,
and Sean Hayes.
Yeah, it's not turning right for him, or turning left for him, I think. So he's struggling a little bit. He'll limp it back to the pits. But yeah, that car is unhappy. Carrying on, we're back at the front. We got Ray Lombardi running along with a whole gang of them. It looks like about 6 cars still left in the front pack. Michael Coates taking up the rear with Eugenio Polici a few, maybe 2 seconds back.
So Peak's made a spot or 2 on this opening lap as well, and mainly I think from people have come unstuck in front of him, but he's also passed Otis Adams there. So he's trying to stay with this middle group, the top 6, just stretching away. Andrew Gilliland leads open class, and he's got a... Whoa! Okay, I didn't know he was off the road when I started talking about him. So he's got his hands full. He's got Jabalski and Orlando Herald very, very close with him. Zeus Dalston there as well.
That was one of those advanced lines, you know. Oh, and Zeus Dalston making a sweet move up the inside. Takes 2 and 1. Brian Shabalski letting him by. And, Gilliland's made another mistake. And that's Zeus Dalston going from 4 spots back to the lead of open class in just a few corners.
Yeah, super wide through a couple of those corners there for Andrew Gilliland. Not comfortable in the final sectors of the lap. Zeus Dalston goes ahead, but we're about to see the Dotting Ahua. It's in play for the leaders. It's about to be in play for this group. All those positions gained could disappear rapidly for Dalston because Gilliland, Jabalski and Herald are in the tow, and there's a bit of work going on for the race lead as well, having waited behind Camden Hibbett all lap long. Ray Lombardi pulls out, Michael Chase pushes him, and the 2 of them shoot through to the race lead. Lincoln Fox also going to try to pick off Camden Hibbett in the final sector here. See Michael Coates pushing Ronnie Coates, so they are so well behaved for 90% of the lap until right about here. Lombardi and Chase go through to first and second.
Yeah, just when it seems like they're not going to calm it down, they do. Meanwhile, the open class is getting pretty busy as they come under the bridge for their turn at it. They've got Orlando Herald leading them, Andrew Gilliland getting a big shunt from Zeus Dalston, who's been shuffled back a couple spots, and Brian Shabalski now taking up the rear position of that group.
So Orlando came from 4th in that pack, down the straight, to lead them, and that is what can happen on the final lap, especially around here. You're positioning onto the Dottinghur. If you've got someone within 1.5 seconds of you, you are not safe. So now Herald leads, and Dalston has more work to do. Orlando Herald leads open class.
Only matters what happens on the last time by, so as long as you're staying in contact, you got to feel pretty good about the situation. Speaking of, we got 7 cars in contact in the lead pack, though it looks like a little breakaway might be forming. Camden Hibbett has about a second right now between himself and Lincoln Fox, and we'll have to see if he's able to hold that as the top 3 try to make their move.
Lombardi's offering up the inside to Michael Chase by the looks of things. Chase will go that way, and Camden Hibbett will push Michael Chase to the lead of the race as they head towards this commitment point at Schwedenkreuz. Lombardi rolls out of the throttle very early, off the racing line a bit wide there, can get you in trouble where Camden Hibbett is. You really do want to be tight to the inside, because as the track then drops away over the crest, it can push you out into the grass, and when you're in the grass, you'll end up in the Armco.
Yeah, and that's one place you don't want to be here at the Nürburgring. There's a few of them I can think of. Just like when you're coming out of the dipper here, you don't really want to be on the left-hand side of the track. Luckily, all these guys know that and get way right before they jump up and down now frost. They do it, forced, and make their way through safely. Really sketchy part of the track, if I'm honest.
Very blind there. You approach at a lot of speed and you come blind over a crest, and the track tightens on you very, very quickly. So you need to know where your braking zone is and really get on the brakes preemptively. Otherwise, you appear around one of the quick corners with a big tight corner right in front of you. It's Michael Coates' perspective from 6th as he gets just a cheeky little bit of the grass, and some of these curbs around the Nordschleife that are just, they're not Formula One curbs, they're stay off me curbs.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you didn't have them real big and tall, the drivers would take all the dirt up to the inside of the guardrail. Around a place like this, you got to think so. They serve their purpose, but they are punishing when you jump on them, even in a car like this with plenty of suspension travel. Meanwhile, while the lead pack's been doing their thing, there's a couple drivers entering in the back of that picture. That's Otis Adams and Mitchell Peak, who have closed the gap a little bit here, trying to turn this pack of 7 into a pack of 9.
Trying to think anything you buy that comes in a pack of 9. 4, 6, 12, even 10. Yep.
If you get a 12.5 donuts, it comes in a pack of 9. No, wait, that's not right. A half dozen and a half donuts. Who knows?
3/4 dozen. You know that famous quantity, 3/4 dozen. You know, when you're having more than half a dozen but less than a whole dozen, you're like, I'll get 3/4 dozen of MX-5s battling for the race lead around the Nordschleife, please.
Yes, and they're doing the most exciting thing. Ray Lombardi's making it too wide as they go up the hill, and he's actually managed to turn that little bit of draft into some momentum. I think he's going to pay for it here, though. Lincoln Fox has a big run, and now they're too wide through Confidence Corner. Oh, and it's sketchy too wide.
Millimeters from disaster for Lincoln Fox, who nearly had an outside tyre in the grass that would have seen them into the Armco, but instead that bravery is rewarded as Lincoln Fox goes up to 3rd place. Michael Chase leading, with Camden Hibbett still in 2nd. We talked about who was catching the lead group. Eugenio Pellicci has absolutely caught them, but there's still work to do through this twisty sector from the carousel all the way around to Pflanzgarten for Otis Adams and Mitchell Peak.
Yeah, and there really is a lot of time to be made on the back half of the track here. The corners come fast and thick and left and right, and you got to make sure that you're on every single one. Andrew Gilliland's getting it a little bit wrong as they come off the uphill section there.
Alex Harrison and Geordie Fike there as well. So fun for all had the Nordschleife. Herrell a little tentative, exiting out of the carousel. Geordie Fike leads Alex Harrison into the carousel. But there is, even in these cars, even in this racing, almost no chance of passing from the top of the hill here at Hohe Acht all the way through the corners like Brunchen, Wipperman, Ice Curve into the Plantsgarten. It is just so rally stage, single file, constant twists, off camber, blind crests, all the way through this sector where Orlando Herrell leads them at the moment. This is the race lead. The leaders fan out just a little bit through all those sequences of corners, but it won't be too long till they're on the Dottinger Hohe, and the physics of drag increasing with the square of speed does what it does and brings them all back together. Chase and Hibbett, though, first and second, looking very strong through this part of the lap. You're flat out here over that crest and then around through the right-hander here, and the nature of being absolutely pinned full throttle through there is why the two of them are so close. They just avoided a slowdown. You can get a slowdown out there as well, and first and second both had one. That would have been very, very spicy for the lead of the race. Michael Chase runs a little wide to the left-hander there at Schwalbenschwanz. And again, it brings them all close together before they hit the long straight.
That corner, Schwalbenschwanz, is the one where you... it's my favorite place to die. You've come out of the difficult back section of the track, the winding road, and all of a sudden you take a breath, and it's so easy to get it wrong. And they almost managed to do it, but held it together.
Right, let me try to channel my inner Talladega. Okay, Michael Chase in the low lane gets a bump from Camden Hibbett, but Lincoln Fox and Ray Lombardi closing up as well. That looks like Michael Coates bumping Ronnie Coates there as well, and that will get them within the slipstream range as there's all of the draft to choose from. Lincoln Fox opts to look to the right-hand side. Now that's going to give Ray Lombardi a super tow, who goes three wide. Lombardi's got the most speed. Around the outside on the right-hand side, gets his nose in front of Michael Chase, who's still being pushed by Camden Hibbett, who backs out of it now. And Ray Lombardi from Michael Chase from Lincoln Fox will be our top three. Pit window is open now if anyone wanted to take it, but with the leading pack like this, I see everyone probably trying to stay out long.
Yeah, it's important to note that even with all the dramas here that of racing with other guys around, these guys are all on fastest lap of qualifying kind of pace, just because of the benefit of the draft at a few spots on the track.
Yeah, I mean, a bump draft up the hill out of Bergwerk could be worth half a second easily. A bump draft down the Dottinger Hohe, there's half a second. So sure, you might lose a couple of tenths checking up in a few little places. Brian Chabelski and Geordie Fike are on the lane. I think both of them might have had just a little bit of damage, and they've reached the pit window to get that fixed, and they'd rather get it fixed. But yeah, for every little tenth that you lose here and there are enough really long straights where a tow and a bump draft will gain you that time back. Fox is on a defensive inside line here. I don't see Camden Hibbett prospering at all around the outside there, but also I don't see giving yourself a shallow entry being particularly prosperous there either for Lincoln Fox.
Yeah, it's a scary place to be around the outside, though, and doesn't mean that Fox isn't going to try it. Sure enough, actually, that's Michael Chase going around the outside with Fox in behind. Too wide through here is always so sketchy, though. They're making it work.
Didn't think it was going to work, but somehow it did. And then they're side by side for that second place through Arenberg as Lincoln Fox tries to get the better run towards, I think, the most aptly named corner, the Foxhole. But I don't think that's giving any advantage. The left-hand side's where you want to be. Ray Lombardi's ahead, getting a little bump from Camden Hibbett just to keep Lombardi in front.
And brave stuff there from Lombardi, but well executed to take. You know, I don't know about you, but I don't practice a ton of alternate lines into a corner like that. So when you get thrust into that kind of uncomfortable situation, it's you really got to be on your toes to make it work.
you don't practice getting bump drafted into blind corners side by side through the twisty bits. It's certainly a little challenging at times there. This is our top 3 in open class. Orlando Herald wide on the way in there. Zeus Dalston, that's a good exit. And Andrew Gilliland right with them as well. So your top 3 in class are all together.
Mm-hmm. They've dropped Alex Harrison. Of course, he had that issue earlier. Oh, well, I speak of that. They make a move on Orlando Herald. He goes from first in the group to third. Yeah, the 3 of them dropped Alex Harrison, who's a little deeper in the pack. We see him now on the screen. And they've put a little bit of a gap. That was, of course, when Harrison and Fike got tangled up. But 3 of them now are doing pretty well for themselves. Last time by, they were right on an 8:10, which is about as fast as we saw them go. And in fact, Zeus Dalston got such a big run down the straightaway that he ran an 8:08, which would have been
breaks.
and would have been good for the open class pole if he had managed to do that in single qualifying.
Gilliland's going to go for the leader class because running deep through the corner was Zeus Dalston. Now we're side by side down the hill here. And Dalston manages to hold on. It's a nice cafe there. If you look from the drone shot, all of the park benches in the sun and the beer garden are out as well in that part of the racetrack, which you can't see from the driver's perspective. But thank you for scanning that iRacing. I love you.
Tom Athon's having a moment. As I was looking through the field, he comes into this little right-hander here, over the hill to the left, and you come down the hill to the right-hander right before the big uphill section, and he does the big no-no. You can't get too wide and get on this exit curb, and that's what he's going to do. And once those rear tires track out over the curb, it's honestly a miracle that he kept that thing out of the wall.
Yeah, very, very well done, but it'll give him a standing start at the bottom of the climb of the hill, and it sees Zeus Dalston, Andrew Gilliland, Orlando Herald close in towards him. While that was all happening, your leaders went through the same sector, and the lead of the race changed. Ray Lombardi getting to the front, Camden Hibbert showing his nose, and of course Ronnie Coates and Michael Coates getting even closer. Still some work to do for Polici, Otis Adams, and Mitchell Peak for them to stay with this leading group at the moment, where they are well behaved through all the twisty sections for the most part, but we are definitely seeing a little bit of gamesmanship, some bump drafting, some leapfrogging. Who's going to work with you on the long straights?
Yeah, always a question. We're riding along here now. This looks like, who do we got here? We're on board with Eugenio Polici. Polici's been doing a good job of just hanging on to the back here. Otis Adams and Mitchell Peak, who are trying to be the 8th and 9th drivers in this pack, have dropped back a bit. But Eugenio's managed to hold on. And, you know, these Spec-5 races always have the little element of the fuel battle to them, right? So you got to think that even though we've seen a lot of Ray Lombardi and Co up at the front, maybe the likes of Coates and Polici aren't doing so bad for themselves, lifting and coasting in the back here.
Does it not seem to happen every race? Ronnie Coates is in 4th or 5th, and then at the end of the pit stops, he's second, and he battles for the lead. So he's on board. Would also be rather interesting at times, I'm sure. You get airborne over that crest, and then you need to turn right. You need to make sure you get to the second curbing at the right-hander.
And Mitchell Peaks had a little moment. If we can jump back to him, he turns in and the car just kind of goes away from him. We're seeing him driving out of the wreck right now. Luckily, I think, as he turns in, you'll see it. He just kind of hits a bump rung, gets spinning. He keeps it off the wall, though. And so I think it's just a little bit of rust. I've got some intel that this is his first time in iRacing in about a month. So he's a little bit rusty, I think.
Orlando Herald, Tom Athon, and some others have had some dramas. So Tom Athon is towed. Okay. He gets sent back to the recovery point. But everyone was struggling with that corner. Orlando Herald gets hit from behind by Andrew Gilliland as as Herald is slowing up for all the smoke in the air. That corner is called Ice Curve, and it's called that because underneath the shade of all of the trees there, if there's ice on the road, it's the last place around the 13 miles of road where the ice thaws out and melts. Your leaders are on the Dottinghahua right now. Michael Chase has his nose in front. Now Lincoln Fox leads, and there's been more drama for Peak.
Yeah, Peak's,
Ronnie Coates gets pushed from like 6th place to the lead of the race, and he goes through a 3 wide, 4 wide down towards the braking zone at the end of the Dottinghahua, and now Ronnie Coates leads.
And everyone else on track was trying desperately to get our attention, but the leaders earned it with that kind of maneuvering. I have a feeling that if these guys keep it up, we're going to get another one of those spicy finishes, David.
Yeah, so is that Ronnie Coates with the fastest lap of the race just there to go from, again, where he was 5th and 6th to leading the race? Massive run down the Dottinghahua, a 7:59.0. You're talking about how that's quicker than qualifying.
Yeah, that was a speedy lap from Coates there, but shows the experience, and I wonder, that feels to me like a sign. We're almost 25 minutes into this race, and I got to think that it might be about time for a pit stop. And if I were a guy who was going to pit, I would get to the front one more time before we head in. Seen a couple cars in the lane now. Most of the open class by the looks of things. Zeus Dalston, Andrew Gillen, Alex Harrison, and Orlando Harrell. And Alex Harrison had a bit of an incident on the way, and he kind of slid into the outside wall.
So Dalston gets away. Harrell probably had a bit of damage. Harrison might have had a tiny bit as well. So they're all going to get away, having taken their fuel to get them to the end of the race. There's Sean Hayes, who had to pit very, very early to his accident. So he's going to be just ahead of them, but will probably still need another stop. This is the lead.
Yeah, Ronnie Coates is holding off Camden Hibbett, who's giving him a big push down the hill towards the foxhole. Coming up behind him too is Lincoln Fox, and the 3 of them looking pretty racy through here. Holding the middle of the track is Lincoln, making sure there's no opportunity for an overtake. Camden Hibbett was so close to the bumper of Ronnie that he actually gave him a little shot as they're coming into Anar Frost. 4th that time. It's not my fault they spelled it wrong. Anyway.
Okay. Struggle with English. Not confident your French teaching is all that great. And now you're going to go for the Germans too. Okay. All right.
Once they give me a German class, I'll let you know how it goes.
To get that green owl to follow you around and bring your vocabulary and your pronunciation up to date. Ronnie Coates leads, and Camden Hibbett is all over him through this part of the circuit here. Miss, hit, miss, and then you are downhill into Exmüller or Metzgersfeld, one of them there. And I think the pace of the race has just gone up.
Yeah, Ronnie is definitely feeling some pressure from Camden at this point. I think that's a benefit here, though, at the Nürburgring, because it's easy to get a little bit complacent if you're not really zoned in. But he's definitely jumped to the front of the pack, and he's dragging these guys along at quite a pace of knots. We'll have to see if anyone has something for him before the end of this lap, and if there's anywhere it's going to happen, it's going to be on this uphill section here.
Yeah, this is always so interesting. Again, we've seen you've got to be careful with that outside curb there. You don't want to hit it. Tom Athon will attest. But going up the hill. You'd love to see from sort of third or fourth's perspective here, because there reaches a point where you get into the tallest gear, you pull fifth gear, you pull sixth gear, you start to top out, the drivers behind you begin to gain, and then it's sharply uphill towards the highest point of the racetrack. We're on board with Michael Chase, and he's seeing Lincoln Fox pull out and then think better of it. Now we're steaming up towards the race leaders, deciding what do we do. The answer, roll out of the throttle, and your top 5 cars become so compressed in the train at the top of the hill, as no one wants to make a risky move on Ronnie Coates, but they all were gaining so much speed in a line.
It looks like it'll be maybe 2 laps after these guys take their stops. So we're going to get a shootout here to the end. Watching on board now, from Alex Harrison, as he gets a little bit wrong, has a little spin, luckily keeps it off the wall. Impressive amount of half spins that haven't hit a guardrail today, it must be said.
A couple of cars getting sideways, leaping out of the carousel as the pace of the race increases. Michael Coates almost skipped out too early and found the Armco, but he'll stay with our leaders. It is a top 7. They've dropped Otis Adams. We've had Mitchell Peak crash, so it's
and Harrison's had another one. Yeah,
a bigger one.
Yeah, a bigger one, and I think that sent him back to the pits. It's that same corner that caught Tom Aton out, and this time for Harrison, he just gets it wrong. You see, he brakes a little bit late, a little bit tight, and slides it out to the outside wall. And when he hits the gas, the car is not driving nicely. Back to the lead. Looks like Ray has been shuffled all the way back to 6th. We got Michael Coates and Michael Chase on screen battling. And if anyone at this point, it's Ronnie Coates +4 and Ray Lombardi -4 in this lead pack. So a tale of 2 races. Ray was setting the pace early. Michael Chase and Lincoln Fox got real close together there.
Then Lombardi slid a little bit wide, so he is dropping away as your first, second, third car in the train really begin to attack the Nordschleife and ramp up the pace, when they were playing a little more conservative in the early laps to try to get to this point, past the halfway point, approaching the pit window where they could then put down the pace and show us what they've got. And clearly right now your 2 quickest drivers are Ronnie Coates and Camden Hibbert. What will they do in 2 corners time when they come onto the almost 2-mile long straight of Zoringhua? The right-hander is Galgenkopf. It's got a couple of apexes. You take the early one, you go out just a little bit wide, track drops downhill, and you're looking for a late apex here that will let you get flat out on the throttle early as possible. Well, Michael Coates was a little wide and off the line. Ronnie Coates at the front of the pack sets his tent out early. He's staying to the left-hand side of the road, and Camden Hibbert, big bump, is going to try to go with him. Then Lincoln Fox closing in at speed on the race leaders. It goes uphill past the tourist pits here, and Lincoln Fox will not be doing any waiting in line, any bump drafting, any of that. They're going to go to the right-hand side, look to get towards the race lead. They've got their nose in front, but Coates is still being bumped by Hibbert, who's now going to change dance partner.
He's picked himself, and he's gotten pushed into the outside line. Lincoln Fox now getting the run.
The dance might have been the foxtrot. Lincoln Fox leads us towards the pit window, pit entry on the right-hand side on the exit here, and they're all going in. Super tight squeeze on the way in here. This isn't the Grand Prix pits. This is the tourist layout pits, and they're going to get towards the fuel bowser at the pit exit there, and it is a flurry of all of our top 7 on the lane, expecting everyone else in, but Ronnie Coates has overshot his box.
He's overshot it not once, but twice. He's had to back up to try and get into the right spot. And that's going to be a big impact. Sure enough, Lincoln Fox gets away first. We got Camden Hibbert slow to roll away. Michael Coates in second, Michael Chase in third, with Camden Hibbert 4th, Ronnie Coates 5th, Palici 6th, Ray Lombardi 7th on the way out. And a big gap there between Lincoln Fox and Ronnie Coates.
Yes, indeed. Ooh, what a waste for Coates.
Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough when there's that many cars in that compressed of a pit lane to try and find your spot. But yeah, I don't know. Lincoln Fox has enough of a gap right now that he might be able to turn that into a bit of a gap. We'll see. Michael Coates is pretty much the only one that has anything to do with that at this point.
We have Andrew Gilliland leading open class, who's just completed his stop, so that will keep him ahead of Zeus Dalston possibly, or will it? There's Dalston side by side, bringing Sean Hayes through. Zeus Dalston goes to the lead of open class right now.
Canada. That's what Zeus Dalston was saying when he drove by.
Okay.
Ronnie Coates is getting a push from Eugenio Polici as the two of them try to close up some ground. They're now 4 seconds back of Camden Hibbett, who's in fourth. And they're going to have to do some real work here in the next 2 laps in the Nürburgring. Luckily, if you're ever going to get 2 laps anywhere, this would be the place to do it. And with the top 4 being pretty disorganized, this push might be enough to make a difference.
So Michael Coates is the driver right now who can push and close in the lead. Michael Chase will run off the road. Camden Hibbett doesn't like that as he'll go around the outside for third place. You've got Coates and Hibbett, who I think are set on not letting Lincoln Fox get away. That 1.2 seconds just might not be enough. And then there is a little bit of a gap to Ronnie Coates and Eugenio Polici. Again, both of them with problems on pit lane or slightly longer stops. They are a little way away from the lead, where Fox has only now 1 second out ahead. We're going to see just the naked pace that Ronnie Coates has got, because it's 3 seconds to the next car, and if they're going to close it, it's all going to be on Ronnie going balls to the wall around the 150 something corners that make up this lap.
We need to spend some time on board with Ronnie next time we get in a twisty bit, because he is just crushing curbs trying to get this thing up to the front.
I think after the carousel could certainly be very interesting. Michael Coates is close to Lincoln Fox for the race lead now as well. That gap is gone, and Michael Coates is the driver to close it up, and in doing so, really dropped Camden Hibbett and Michael Chase. So can these two work together to stay ahead of the rest of them?
I wonder. It's always tough, but 2 skilled drivers out here at the front. And they're about to go up the hill where that draft is going to matter more than anything.
What Michael Coates does is going to be so important here. Do you push Lincoln Fox and try to stay ahead of the rest, or do you slipstream past and try to lead the race? And in a second, Coates is going to have to decide, is 2 seconds enough to stay ahead of Camden Hibbett and Michael Chase if I push Lincoln Fox up the hill? And he will. That's what he's doing, bumper to bumper. Come on, let's get away from the rest of them. Michael Chase isn't close enough to bump Camden Hibbett. I don't think Camden Hibbett's quite close enough to pick up the slipstream. So the leading duo get just a little bit further away.
2.5 second gap. We'll keep an eye on that.
Now Chase and Hibbett are linking up though, because they know that's what they've got to do if they're going to catch 2 leaders working together. What about Ronnie Coates and Eugenio Polici? I think that's what it is right now. We have got 3 duos, and they've got to give it everything around this. Will be the penultimate lap. The white flag will come out next time. It's also going bananas in the open class between Zeus Dalston and Andrew Gilliland.
It's an old school tandem draft. What is this, 2011? They're doing it out here. Checking in on a little deeper in the field. That's the open class that's getting a little spicy right now. Brian Chabelski's got Andrew Gilliland right on the rear bumper as they come up the hill. And we'll see if there's any moves into the braking zone, into Confidence Corner here. here in lifts. I don't think we're going to get anything too exciting.
Dalston well placed to be able to cover this off for the moment as well. And then there is almost no passing for the next couple of miles.
Ooh, back at the lead, Michael Coates put a couple tires off through there. Lincoln Fox holding on as they go through YouTube corner.
And then there's Ray Lombardi in 7th, trying to put in work.
Yeah, kind of in a bit of a no man's land. It's going to be tough. He's going to have to do some work to get on Eugenio Polici's bumper.
Lincoln Fox seems to know which way the track goes, because through the part of the lap that you'd expect Camden Hibbett to be able to close in a lot on the leaders, the gap has stayed pretty well similar. And look at how Hibbett has also dropped Michael Chase back there in 4th, and Ronnie Coates in 5th has gotten a little bit closer. So we're starting to see just the raw pace and commitment out of some drivers who weren't game to show it in the first couple.
Camden gets it wrong. And he goes wide. I'm not sure if that was the slowdown from the exit of... No, I don't think he got it. So that was just a missed braking zone on the way into the mini carousel.
And it's good news for the leaders, and it's good news for Ronnie Coates as well, because for the penultimate time down the Dottingahua, Michael Coates is pushing Lincoln Fox, and they are now 3.8 seconds ahead of 3rd place. The work of the drivers behind to try to catch the leaders is becoming a harder and harder task with that mistake from Camden Hibbett.
Just got to keep yourself locked in. One more lap to go for Lincoln and Michael. And we might get a 4-way battle for the last step of the podium at this rate.
It's easy to be friends right now. It'll be tougher to be friends in a lap's time. That's what we might have to wait and see. And now Camden Hibbett will get back to 3rd with a big slipstream on Camden Hibbett. Ronnie Coates not too far behind them as well. The white flag is waving for 13 more miles of racing on the Nürburgring Nordschleife for the Spec-5 World Tour. And Lincoln Fox leads us through turn 1, Sabina Schmidt's curve. The 1st and 2nd place are now 4 seconds away from the rest of the cars beginning to form up. And Zeus Dalston's trying to break the toe in the open class lead down the Dottingahua. Going one side, they get in line, going back to the other side. It's weave for Dalston, who might just be able to hold on.
Yeah, he's so far managed to avoid letting anyone get near him, but it's really at the bridge where you start to get worried about that momentum coming behind you. And there's a freight train coming. That's Brian Spelski. He's looking up the inside. And it looks like he's not going to go for it this time, but if I was leading, I'd know that the guys behind have the timing down now. There's going to be no freebies next lap.
Final lap, my 2 drivers to watch are Michael Coates and Ronnie Coates, because there will come a time when Michael Coates will stop being Lincoln Fox's friend and they will battle for the race lead. And Ronnie Coates has put himself in a really strong position to be able to still fight for a podium, now within the tow of Michael Chase, within the tow of Camden Hibbett in 3rd, approaching Schwedenkreuz.
And the gap is 3 seconds. 3 seconds as they exit the hairpin here and head towards the foxhole. And that's going to be hard to overcome, but all it takes is one side-by-side corner to lose 6 or 7 tenths. So Michael Coates will have to be really strategic when he's thinking about where he wants to get this overtake done, if he even wants to try and get it done before the final straight.
Look at how much Ronnie Coates is gaining. Absolutely insane. He's all over them already by now. Looking for a late apex there. We're on board with him as he goes from 1st up into 2nd gear. maybe you start thinking already to the exit of Bergwerk and then up the hill towards that commitment corner as your place to make some passes.
Zeus Dalston looking racy as they head towards Schweidenkreuz.
Yeah, he's caught Jordy Fike, I think.
Yeah, he makes a move up the inside and gets by Jordy Fike pretty cleanly too. Well, Jordy had that wreck earlier on, and the car was a little banged up. He got some repairs done at the stop. I'm not sure if anything else came up, but I think he's just been losing a little bit of time to this open class group.
And then Orlando Herald was quicker last lap as well, and he's just back there a couple seconds too. So this last lap will get oh so interesting. Ronnie Coates catching Michael Chase. Michael Coates behind Lincoln Fox. It's all on everywhere.
Camden Hibbett's split off a little bit from the guys behind. He's now...
And Eugenio Pollicci is done. He's either wrecked or towed.
Oh no. Let's see if we get a sight on it here. And as he was coming through miss, hit, miss, he missed, and you never want to miss.
Well, you can miss, hit, miss, but if you miss, then you hit, I think, is what may have happened there for Eugenio Pollicci. Unfortunate. It's Camden Hibbett in third, getting just an inch closer to Fox and Coates leading. Ronnie Coates is all over Michael Chase, just behind him there as well. And again, you've got a question to make here for Ronnie. Do you pass or do you try to bump Michael Chase back up towards that third place? And you cannot decide to work with or get on by on the final lap.
Michael Chase and Coates closing the gap back up to Hibbett. Hibbett now 3.3 back, so 2.9 at his closest. He's lost 0.4. It's a lot to overcome. We might still get our three-way battle for the last step of the podium, though.
Well, it can be a marriage of convenience as third place is off the road there. Camden Hibbett losing time. Michael Chase and Ronnie Coates right in behind him, approaching the carousel, can do nothing about it. The leader's gap now 4 seconds. Fox and Michael Coates have been good friends for a lap or so now. When does that stop? Is it the dotting a hua for the last time? As Camden Hibbett might find that he is no longer such a great friend that they want to work with him either.
I still think it's coming on the final run. Man, and they're just doing everything right now. The open class is getting spicy. That's Zeus Dalston getting held to the inside while two pro class drivers, Brian Chapelski in the back and Jordy Fike in the front, try to make their move. Fike goes wide around Confidence Corner, leaves the line for Zeus. Zeus is holding it, but slides a little bit more at the apex. And now Andrew Gilliland's entering the picture, and that's our open class second place driver. Making a battle of it. Jordy Fike gets a little loose on the inside. Dalston's going to hold him off, hold the spot, and he's got a little bit of defense between himself and Gilliland. That's the battle for the open class lead.
Too much curb for Fike, and Dalston is able to hold on, but Andrew Gilliland, his main rival in that open class, gets closer. The rivalry isn't there yet for the leaders in the pro class. Michael Chase runs off the road in front of Ronnie Coates. Lincoln Fox and Michael Coates are about to maybe get just a little bit messy once it comes to the dotting a hua. They're working their way through the fast Stefan Beloff and Flansgarten section now, and then it's after the Kleinis carousel that allegiances will be tested. It is a lot like Survivor. You've got to make a lot of alliances just to break them at the end.
Camden Hibbett's 2.7 seconds at the bottom of the hill there, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Coates still in the catbird seat. He's got the draft going on the final straight. Oh! He runs it wide. Coates runs it wide. All 4 tires off, and that's a gap for Lincoln Fox, and that's such a gap. I don't know if Coates will have enough to overcome it.
Second place has had a problem. Lincoln Fox now leads onto the dotting a hua. Is it an insurmountable lead? You never say never. But Michael Coates is about 1.3 seconds back, and he's going to have to pray that he can just get a fingertip of slipstream down the straight. Lincoln Fox is going to give nothing away for free. Look at that, to the right, to the left, but it's coming down 1.2 seconds, 1.1 seconds. They're side by side for the third place there, as well as Ronnie Coates gets ahead, but Camden Hibbett goes right back for seconds, looking to do the switchback, the double slingshot. Can Fox keep just far enough away from Michael Coates to bring home a win? They're approaching the bridge, and Fox is still 0.7 of a second ahead. Michael Coates is arriving 4 miles an hour faster, but he's going to run out of road. Lincoln Fox leads us into the final braking zone. Michael Coates has closed all the gap but hasn't been able to make a pass. Looks like Camden Hibbett is out of fuel. A massive last-ditch dive on the brakes from Michael Coates, but it's not close enough. Out of the final corner on the Nordschleife to take the win. Lincoln Fox and Michael Coates are both out in the grass. Ronnie Coates goes to third. Ray Lombardi's going to get past a coughing, spluttering Camden Hibbett, and Andrew Gilliland leads Brian Chabelski and Zeus Dalston coming onto the Dotting Ahua for the open class. Gilliland is ahead.
Michael Chase is out of fuel too, and he's burping and sputtering as he tries to get it across the line. Otis Adams is throwing it up the inside, and he's going to take the line before Michael Chase can get there. 2 cars in the top 5 run out of fuel on the final straight, and we got a battle on now for the open class. Andrew Gilliland is getting a good push from the likes of Brian Chabelski, and Jordy Fike is leading in the pro class. Leading them in the pro class. We got Orlando Harrell and Zeus Dalston hooked up together though, and the two of them are getting a draft off Brian Chabelski. We'll see if it's enough. They've got a lot of speed right now. Dalston fans out wide to the inside. He's going to get closed off though. Orlando Harrell pushes him. Harrell's got a huge run. He goes to the inside. He's up the inside of Gilliland, and he's going to he's taking that outside line. They're too wide. And Harrell slides it wide, hits the dirt, hits the guardrail. Oh, and that's going to hurt. Zeus Dalston comes through for second place, and it's going to be Gilliland who takes the win from Zeus Dalston in second and Harrell in third.
Harrell bit off so much and he just couldn't chew it, but he saw the opportunity and he wanted to go for it. He had to go for it, and unfortunately it cost him another spot in open class as he finishes behind Zeus Dalston as he tried to go for the win on Gilliland. Might have had to manage a bit of fuel. I think there's a few drivers really had to manage some of their fuel at the end of the Dotting Ahua there just to see out the race. Lincoln Fox took the win from Michael Coates. Ronnie Coates fought his way back to third place with Ray Lombardi in fourth. Camden Hibbett spluttering to fifth. Otis Adams passing Michael Chase as he ran out of fuel. Then Jordy Fike in eighth. Open class win, Andrew Gilliland, Brian Chabelski, Zeus Dalston, Orlando Harrell, Sean Hayes, Eugenio Polici, Alex Harrison, Mitchell Peake, and Tom Athon were the retirements.
That was a hell of a finish. You never see that many guys getting the fuel wrong, but they did today.
And what a critical error it was from Michael Coates at a time that he could have challenged for the win and let the fox out of the bag. Not sure that's the saying, but it could be one.
Sounds about right. I've got our open class winner here, Andrew Gilliland. Exciting little finish there. Looked like you were nowhere going into the last lap, and you come out with the win.
Yeah, I had to go huge fuel save mode on the last lap. I was just trying to save as much fuel as I could. I was sputtering as I went across the line, but awesome win. This is my actually first win at Nürburgring in any race I've ever done here. So great accomplishment for me. And, this race was just so enduring and hard.
Absolutely. It looked like it was a bit of a battle in the open class. Some inconsistency, seeing drivers making moves. Zeus Dalston looked like he had a bit of a pace on you at one point. What'd you have to do to sort of get your head right for those final laps?
I mean, honestly, in my head, I was just trying to stay in the race. I knew a mistake would come if I put the pressure on, and I forced that mistake just by getting side by side with him. Because I'm not worried about going side by side, and I'll make that mistake happen.
And you see Orlando going side by side with you in the final corner. What are you thinking?
I kind of had a feeling he was going to spin and have an issue because the way he came up on me so fast, I knew he wasn't going to be able to break in time for that right-hander, and I saw him go off and wreck, and I believe he had to take a tow at the end. But yeah, it was just an awesome battle at the end.
Well, congratulations, buddy, and congrats on the first win at the Nürburgring.
Thank you.
Anyone you need to thank for the race today?
I'd like to thank Aussie Sales Porsche Parts for sponsoring the car, and then I'd also like to thank Camden Hibbett and Nathan J. Bird for all the help throughout the season, coaching me and really helping me get my pace down. And yeah, I'd like to thank HJBC and Spec-5 for putting the show on the road.
Cheers.
Yep.
Now, this is the point where we'd like to speak to race winner Lincoln Fox, but I don't see them. And I don't think we've ever spoken to Lincoln now I think about it. So that's unfortunate, because I think overall a really good race. And then it came from leading off of the pit lane, Michael Coates working with them. And I mean, you imagine the kind of pressure in those final few laps for Lincoln Fox there. Incredible amount of bump drafting going on, but it's Michael Coates who blinks first, and Lincoln Fox who then takes that gift onto the Dottinger, who holds on for an awesome race win at probably the most challenging racetrack we could possibly go to.
Yeah, absolutely, and pretty significant implications in the points too. When a part-time driver goes and wins a race, it's always going to throw things in a little bit of chaos. Ronnie Coates, despite running out of fuel, manages to cross the line in third place. Michael Coates is down the order right now in the points. Sitting around sixth place with that second place finish. You got to think that that's going to bump things up a little bit too. And Ray Lombardi a little bit behind Ronnie Coates, and that gap's only going to get wider despite the fuel issues for Ronnie. Ray finishes fourth and loses points in the championship. So with only a couple rounds left to go, or one round left to go after this, you got to think that it's going to be a hard sell for anyone to catch the likes of Ronnie with his 100-point lead at this point in the season.
Awesome race, and with such a challenging circuit in the way they raced each other, great to see the proportion of cars finish the race that we did have. And it's 1 week's time to the season finale, 90 minutes of racing at historic No Mulsanne Chicanes Le Mans. It will be insane. Make sure you catch our coverage of that next week. From the Nordschleife, though, the race win in open class goes to Andrew Gilliland, while the quick Lincoln Fox jumps over the Michael Coates for the race win. We'll see you in a week's time. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're watching, because we look forward to bringing you more Spec-5 World Tour and also the ChampCar Watkins Glen 5 hour this Saturday, also on our channels. We'll see you there.